Can this be repaired to last? Absolutely. Okay, so here we have, of course, a Bycast or bonded leather cushion on a chair. The rest of the chair is fine, but this cushion, as you can see, is, of course, starting to peel. And when it starts to peel, it cracks open and you get this type of thing going on. Now, we've peeled an area here, but what we want to do is we want to show you, again, you can fix this with our small leather dye repair kit in the color dark brown C. This is the small 2-ounce dye kit. Of course, it comes with the cleaner, and it comes with 2 ounces of the dye, and it comes with a sealer top coat, and it comes with a leather cleaning and dusting cloth, and rubber gloves, you know, foam applicators, everything, sandpaper, everything that you need to sort of, you know, restore the finish on a leather. We may get into applying some filler. This is our small filler kit. If we decide to, you know, fill any sort of deep cracks or anything like that. But anyways, what we want to do is we want to show you, there's an area here. I don't know if we can pick that up with the camera. We might be able to. See right here? There's an area right there, and right here, and right there. Let's see if I can zoom in. It's a little tricky. Okay, there we go. Okay, right here and right there, and there's another area right here, there, and here. This area was fixed by us about 3 years ago. So what happens is the customer came in and we just sort of peeled off and we touched up these areas with our dye, of course. And as you can see, other areas, see, like around here and around there, they're starting to fail or starting to peel. But in the area where we applied our dyes, see right here, those won't peel anymore because they've actually soaked down into the material. They've dried, they've cured, they've strengthened, okay? So that's what happens with this material. It's the bonded or the Bycast type of dyes start to, they don't bend and flex at the same rate, of course, as the leather, and you get all this peeling and stuff. So what we've done, just to show you, is let's zoom in here a little bit. Okay, see right here, see this area right here? What we've done is we've actually opened this up and we've applied the dyes and massaged them down in there and let them dry, and as you can see, it's strengthened it. Okay, so if in fact you had just a small area, let's say the whole couch was good, but you just sort of had like a small area like this, you could actually get the dye and drip it in there, massage it all in, and sort of effectively glue this down. Okay, and it would be fixed. Okay, but the only thing is the other areas start to go. So what we would recommend is just go to town peeling all this. See how we're peeling it all? I mean, ultimately, if you can peel the whole thing, that would be great, and then apply our dyes, it would fix it indefinitely. Because the thing is I mean, our dyes, again, this is just sitting on the surface, and you can peel it off. But when you apply our dyes and massage them down into this material, they soak down in, they dry, they cure, they strengthen, and they're not going to come off. So again, in a situation like this, you know, you can do a fix-it repair, and chances are you'll be good for a couple years or something like that. But ultimately, the areas that you repair will be okay, but it'll start to peel and crack in other areas. So, you know, just do the best you can. You know, go like this and try to loosen it up and try to do a good job peeling it all off. You know, it might take you a little while. You know. Just peel it off as much as possible. See? We might be able to do the whole thing, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We're not going to show you that on camera. We'll probably take a break, and I'll get someone to come over here and start picking away at it so I don't have to do it. And then when we apply our dyes, this cushion will be fixed for an awfully long time. So that's what we're going to do, and what you do is just go like this and sort of bend with your hand, and you can see where it's coming off. See right here? Just sort of pick that all away. Just get in there like that, pick it all away. Alright? Like if you want to sort of do it right, where you want to fix a cushion and never have an issue again, this would be the way to do it. It's not, you know, it's not too bad. I mean, you can get good at it by getting like large pieces like this after a while. You know, it'll start to turn into a game. Right? So we're not going to play this game on camera. We're going to peel this, or we're going to clean it up the best possible, and we'll be back. Oh, and just one more thing. Once you start to get the hang of it, which is what I'm doing right now, you can actually start to peel off such large panels of this that it's not going to take you as long. So it's just like anything else in life. Once you start doing it, and once you feel comfortable with what you're doing, you just start to do that much better of a job. See how I'm taking off large panels of it? Okay. You know, you just gotta take your time a little bit. You know, and look at the large panels we're taking off. Huge. Go back over here. And of course, in the areas that we fixed, it's not going to be as easy to remove the stuff. Just like here, it's right down impregnated, so we're going to try to clean that up as much as possible. We may not be able to remove that because that was sort of fixed correctly with our dies. Alright. Okay. There we go. Just keep picking away. It's actually quite satisfying, as you can see. You're just picking away. That takes a little bit of effort, just like anything. Let's see what we can do here. See if we can get this whole piece here. Alright. Nice. So again, we're just going to continue to pick this. We pretty much did the whole thing already, and I mean, we didn't really even stop the camera that much, just for a couple of minutes. So we're going to continue to just clean this up, and we will. See, now I just can't even stop picking this thing here. You just got to keep picking until it's all cleaned up. Alright, so we'll just keep picking. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, so here we are. It took a little while. Basically, just, you know, in and around here, you had to get in there with your finger and just sort of clean it up all around the piping here. Now, as you can see, the areas where we actually applied the dye, they're not really sort of coming off. So what we're going to do is, when you put your hand over here, this of course is nice and smooth and flat, but you can feel that it's a little bit rough here because of course the dye is a little bit higher than the surface. So we're going to take the sandpaper that comes in the kit, and we're just going to gently sand this down, try to make sure that it's as flat as possible. See here? Feels pretty good. Probably not going to get it perfect because, again, when you apply our dyes to these areas, they soak down it. And remember when I showed you that it was just sort of this, it's actually was an area here that we fixed too, and I couldn't even see it. Usually I can sort of catch our work, but in this case, I just caught it here and here and here. And you know, if you wanted to, you could try to pick it off, but you may create some damage because, again, the dyes soak down into this material, they dry and they cure and they strengthen. So I would probably just recommend just to sand it so it's a little bit smooth. So actually we made this video just to sort of do fix-up areas, but I decided, you know what, let's just peel it all and let's just do it right the first time. And we're probably going to get much better lifespan out of it. It'll probably last another, who knows, it's hard to say. I mean, it could last 5, 7, 10 years. It depends on how much you use it and how of course you take care of it. These polyurethane finishes, they're basically polyurethane or plastic onto the surface, so you can't use conventional leather cleaners or leather conditioners that have oils or waxes in them, because the oil or wax will actually make the finish gummy and actually make it fail, which in other words, it'll make it peel, because you're applying a fat liquor into it and the actual polyurethane finish starts to move away and then it starts to break and peel. So what we're going to do is we're just going to sort of dust this off, and then we're going to apply dyes into the surface. And the way we would do that is not by applying it to the sponge and wiping it. We're actually going to apply the dyes and sort of do some finger painting and rub it all into this material. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, so we got our glove on. We're going to get our kit. Of course, this is the small leather dye repair kit with the 2-ounce bottle of dye. We're going to go in there, we're going to take our dye, we're going to take our lock top cap, and we're going to shake it up. Make sure you do a really good job shaking up to get the most accurate color. Okay, we're going to open this up. We're going to break the safety seal, and we're going to put our lock top cap on that, of course, also comes in the kit. So this way it's nice and easy and spill proof. Okay, that's why. Okay, so let's start over here. What we're going to do is we're just going to apply some dye like this, and we're just basically going to massage it into the material. And when you do this, you're basically wetting the whole area, and that's equivalent to applying the dyes. Like, let's say I had a sponge here and I applied some dye on a sponge like this. That's about 3 coats of dye with regards to laying it on with a sponge. So if you really want to get dye onto the leather, which is what we want to do here, you actually do this finger painting sort of technique, because it pushes the dyes right down into the material, which is what you want. And just massage it like this and just sort of wipe it away just like that. And of course, our leather dyes are the highest quality leather dyes available. They're not watered down. We do not ship water, although they, again, are water-based. They're in the concentrated form, so this way you will get really nice application out of them, and they actually go a long way. And again, when you water something down, it doesn't last as long as something that's not watered down. Okay. You know, and if you didn't get all inside here or something like that, that's okay. You're probably going to put another coat on it anyways. So this way, if there's any areas that you missed or whatever, you could always fix them up later. It's no big deal. And try to get everything evenly, because this way you don't have to really touch it up too much later. You know that the dye is even everywhere that you've applied it. And of course too, the more dye that you put on a certain area, the longer that area will last, because the more durable and the more protected it's going to be. So in the areas that you think are going to take the most abuse on this seat, put more dye. They'll just last that much longer. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the video quickly so I can put on another pair of gloves so I don't get this hand all dirty. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I got my other glove on. Let's just finish this off. Down. Looks pretty good. Okay, so now of course it looks matte because we've put the first penetrative coat in, and again it's going to soak down into the leather. It's going to dry and cure. If you wanted to, you could put another coat on now, just a secondary coat, just quickly and easily like this. It's very easy to work with our dyes. They're not gonna get all sticky and pill up on you or anything like that. They'd only do that if you're doing it, let's say, in the sun. We would never recommend applying them in the sun. Okay. So here I still need a little bit more. This is the area that gets the majority of the abuse. So we're going to put a good amount on there. Okay. And just sort of wipe it like this just to get uniform look to it. In other words, if you go like that, it's gonna stay like that, so you don't want to do that. Okay, you're just gonna want to wipe it down and sort of get some kind of uniform look out of the cushion, like that. Whoops, watch yourself. Always a good idea to put some newspapers down or something like that if you're ever doing this. Okay, looks good. So here it is. We're going to let this dry overnight, and we'll be back the next day to show you what it looks like and to show you what you need to do and how to finish it off so it looks like a full and complete, beautifully new, protected cushion. Again, that's going to last much longer than it did from the factory. We'll be back. Okay, so we're back the next day, and as you can see here, you know, it's a little bit rough. Of course, it needs a little bit more dye onto the surface. We can even gently sand it down, but it's pretty good. I mean, you can feel it, you can touch it, see the leather dyes bending and flexing properly. The only thing is now is we have these areas where we applied the dye 2 years ago, or almost 3, and you know, they might get in the way of the repair now. So maybe we can try to remove this. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I got myself a razor blade. It's a fairly dull razor blade. I wouldn't recommend using a razor blade, but in this case I just wanted to see if we can try to remove this, and this way the whole seat will look so much better. So what we're going to do is we're just going to try to just maybe lift up a corner. You might be able to pick this off, hopefully. Of course, our dies are going to be a little, like, they go into the material deeper, so they're not going to be so easy to remove. As you can see, I don't want to create more damage by doing this, but yeah, our dies are on there. Yeah, they're really on there. Yeah, they're really on there. So what we're going to do is maybe we're going to take a little bit more coarse sandpaper and just sort of sand that down to try to lessen the texture on the surface. Or maybe we'll just, you know how you rub it back and forth this way. Generally, you know, again, you wouldn't need to do this. It's just that we're checking over the repair, and we want to make sure that the whole seat sort of looks uniform. And again, this is an area where we applied our dies, and our dies have done their job. And again, see, very difficult to remove. Very difficult to remove. We might have even applied a little skim coat of filler in there. As you can see how it's white? So we might have put a little bit of filler in there to raise the bottom level up to the surface of the peeled, or the bonnet or Bycast surface. So we might have put a little skim coat of filler in there and then apply the dies over top. It's hard to say. So that's what it looks like. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically do this and try to remove our work, and then we'll be back. Okay, we're back. We got a little bit more of an aggressive type of sandpaper. And what we're going to do is just sand this area down so it's fairly smooth. And again, we're using an aggressive sandpaper, and you can see that if this die was not strong, it would be, of course, all over. It will come off on the sandpaper. I mean, you're using sandpaper. It's made to be sat on with your clothing. Clothing usually isn't sandpaper. But anyways, you can see the penetration, and you can, of course, see the strength of course, our dies and our products. I mean, let's just, you know, go here and see what we can do with the sandpaper. See how it's taking the finish off, but it's very strong. Strong and flexible. So we might not be able to, actually, you know what, we don't have to pick it off. We can just sand it down level. It's starting already to look pretty good. I just wanted to know if we could pick it off, and there's no way you're picking it off. Again, the areas that you fix, those areas will not repeal. Sand the whole thing down. See the die coming off? And the amount of wear that I'm putting on this with the sandpaper is probably like 10 or 15 years worth of abuse, and you can see it's now dyed throughout the hide, so it's going to last so much longer. Yeah, see, actually what we did here, can we see it? See here, we actually caused a little bit of damage by actually removing that, but here, this is starting to get nice and smooth. Okay, so we got sidetracked a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, our videos, we don't have a script or anything like that. They're not sort of pre-planned. We just sort of have a scenario. We try to figure out the best way to make a video when we're going through it, actually doing it. And we came to this point. So, this looks pretty good. It feels pretty flat. So I think when the dyes go on, it'll sort of cover that up. And what we're going to do here, since now we actually put some low-lying areas into this area, we put a little bit of low-lying area, we're going to actually apply a little bit of our leather repair filler kit. This is the 1 ounce small kit. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm just going to clean up, and just different areas here, like you can see. Let's see with the camera. Okay. See the condition here? See how there's a few little detailing cracks and stuff like that? I mean, it's all bending and flexing properly, okay, because again, the dyes have strengthened this area. So what we're going to do is we're just going to fill little areas like this and little areas like this and stuff like that, and see just small little areas. See how there was there was a little bit of cracking, just a very small bit. We're going to fill that in with a little bit of our filler, so we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we're back. We actually just gently sanded down the whole cushion. We sanded and sanded and sanded and sanded, as you can see. We're sanding right down, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our leather repair filler, and we're just going to look for areas on here that maybe need just a little bit of filler. And the way you would figure that out is just take some of the filler and just sort of put it on here, and whatever goes into a low-lying area would require filler. Just like that. And again, our filler is very easy to use, which is always very nice, because it makes working very stress-free, and you can almost have fun doing this. Other fillers on the market are like leather glues or wood glues, and you put them on and they're dripping all over the place, and they don't, you know, when they do dry, you know, they're not really cured. They just dry and they're brittle and they'll peel. But this actually bends and flexes, and everything is at the same rate as leather, which is extremely important. We're just going to go over this area here a little bit. Fill this in. I'll let you zoom in a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. You know, what you're doing is you're just sort of just filling in the low-lying area. That's all you're doing. See, just like that. And I'm using, of course, the smooth edge of the palette knife. Yeah, I mean, you can get really picky if you want, but you don't really, you know. If you go over an area and it doesn't really take any filler, that means you really don't need any filler there. See how that took some filler? Let's see here, maybe. Here, maybe a little bit. See there? Maybe in the front. Whoops. Just trying to get the camera going here properly. You know, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Even if once you apply the dyes and you let the dyes dry, you can go over areas that you missed or whatever like that. It's no big deal. And again, as you can see here, the filler's not drying right away on me or anything like that. It's not easily, you know, it's really easy to apply, as you can see. So, looks pretty good. I'm just checking everything out. Let's zoom out a little bit. See? Okay. This looks pretty good. And again, the way we put the filler on, is you put it on really clean. In other words, You don't put it on messy, because if you put it on messy, then you're going to have to try to remove that mess or sand that mess away. And if you just have like a little bit of pilling or something like that, you can sand it out with the sandpaper that comes in the kit. So in the kit here you get, of course, the palette knife. This one right here for easy application. You get the 1 ounce filler. You get the leather repair cloth as a backing if you have any deep rips or rips or tears. And of course the sandpaper is right here along with the glove. So that's of course the small leather repair filler kit. Does a lot of work. I mean, like this type of work right here only took a little bit of filler. The filler actually goes a long way. You don't want to put a whole bunch of filler into areas. So we're just looking around and we pretty much filled in all the areas in question. So what we're going to do is we're just going to let this dry probably overnight, or we put it so thin it's probably going to dry in about maybe 5 or 6 hours. Our products take a little bit longer to dry and cure. That's okay, because with that longer drying and curing time, it gives it much more strength and flexibility. So when this is dry, we'll start applying the dyes. We'll be back. Okay, so we're back. What we did again is we put some filler over this. We let this dry overnight, and we went ahead and we just got our sandpaper that comes in the kit. We just basically just sanded it down just like this. And what we're doing is we're sanding down the filler just in case there was a little bit of pilling or something like that, making it nice and smooth. In this area, since we applied the dye to a rough surface, of course when the dye dries, the area will be a little bit rough. And what you do is you just basically just gently sand it down like this to make it nice and smooth, okay? So you want to get yourself a cloth or something like that, and then just dust the dust. There's fine dust, of course, as you can see right there. Just try to remove that. And now what we want to do, again, feel it, make sure it's nice and smooth. And now we want to put some more dye over top of it. You want to shake the dye, go into your kit and grab a sponge. And you want to put the dye onto the sponge now. Okay, good amount of dye on the sponge. Put that there. And now you basically just want to wipe the dye on top of the filler, and you want to go a little bit heavier. And what I'm doing here is I'm not really rubbing hard. I'm just sort of like with the weight of a few fingers, I'm just applying the dye. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to put the dye, see how it's nice and even and neat. So put a little bit more dye onto the sponge, and you need a fairly good amount of dye on here. So when I wipe it on, you can see that the dye covers these areas fairly well, but an area where there's a little bit more filler, you just need to dab the dyes on. And generally, I mean, you're probably going to want to put about 2 or 3 coats of the dye onto the filler. So what I'm doing is I'm just gently wiping it on, and then I'm sort of going over it like this to try to even out and cover the filler. Okay, again here, see how you can see, I'll move it over here so you can, whoops, we're just dabbing it on. Maybe I should have moved this over here for you like that so you can see everything. You got the best seat in the house right there, right? Okay, so we're just wiping it on like that. See, just gently, and then in the areas where it's kind of white, you want to put the dyes a little bit heavier like that. Okay, same thing here. You can dab the dyes on a little bit heavier, or since we're doing the whole cushion, just sort of wipe the dyes on. I always sort of like do circular motions, just gently. See, gently like this. Now I'm letting off on my hand. I'm sort of letting the pressure off on my hand when I'm applying the dye. So you apply the dye, and then to get a nice sort of looking finish, you just ease up on the sponge. So here, I'm just using the weight of to wipe it around, right? And then just let up and just use the weight of the sponge just to go like this, and it goes on very, very fine. It doesn't leave any streaking. If you use a heavy hand or you use force or too much force, you'll leave streaking. And when you do this, you're going to see that there's texture, but when it dries, it's going to dry perfectly. It's going to look fantastic. Same thing here. putting some more dye on the sponge. We're sort of wiping it in. And what we're doing is we're just wiping it to get coverage. And then right here, we dab the dye on like that. That's it. Nothing fancy. So this is what we got, just like that. And we're just going to leave it there. And we're going to dry it up. Okay, well, of course we always recommend using a hair dryer, but we use a heat gun for the videos. A hair dryer will not burn leather. A heat gun can burn the leather, and if you burn the leather, then you're in bigger trouble than what you had to begin with usually, because when the leather's burnt, it shrinks up and it's very difficult to fix. A lot of times when there's a cigarette burn or anything like that, it's a good idea to remove the burnt area of the leather and then apply a filler inside. So if you use a heat gun, you're going to have a big burned area, and you don't want that. So that's why we always recommend using a hair dryer. Okay. And also too, you don't want to superheat the filler if it's wet, or you don't want to superheat the dye, because what will happen is you'll burn the dye and it'll start to bubble, and you're not going to get the same strength and adhesion when you bubble up the dye compared to when you just dry it. So, you know, we always tell people just let it sit overnight, no big deal, and then it'll be perfectly dried and cured the next day. However, we like to hurry it along a little bit on the videos, just to show you. And also too, some people, they scrutinize the videos so much that if I weren't filming this right now, they wouldn't believe the type of finish we have. Okay, they wouldn't believe that our products do this, but they do this, because they are, of course, the highest quality water-based leather supplies made, and we're the only ones that make them. And the only way you get them is by going directly to our website, fixyourleather.com or leathertouchupdye.com. Okay, but you look at this, and if you were, let's say, happy with it, you could apply the sealer top coat, which is right here, and spray that onto a sponge and wipe it onto the surface to give it a nice new shine again. But also too, when you're dealing with finishes, the thicker the finish, the longer it's going to last, the more durable it's going to be. So even if you were to do this to your cushion and you're to say, oh wow, it looks great and all the rest of the stuff, there's literally maybe about 1 to 2 coats of dye on this. And it looks to me like I can kind of see through the finish, and I can see a little bit of white, like ghosting from the filler. I don't know if you can sort of, let's see if we can pick that up. See right there? See right here, right there? That means there's not enough dye on the filler. It looks pretty good from far away. See here, like, I don't know how the heck we can pick this up here. It's so tricky. You can kind of see it. Can you kind of see it? Okay, but if you were to do this couch and you'd put it in a basement or in a dark room, it would look fantastic. You wouldn't even think that you needed another coat, and you may not even need another coat. But we're going to put another coat on here because that's what we think it needs. So again, this is the area that takes a lot of abuse, is the front. So in the areas that take a lot of abuse, we would recommend to put more product. And also too, see right, whoops, can we see? Right here in the seam, just make sure you get the dye in there. I don't know if I'm getting in there or not. I can't really see because I'm back here and you're over there. So we'll just try it. We'll do the best we can. If we want to fix it, or if, you know, whatever, we'll do that later. So put a little bit more down on the sponge. Wipe that on like this. Ease up on the weight pushing down. See? Just spreading it. Gently. And we'll turn it around. This was a heavily cracked area, and just make sure you get the dyes just right down inside there, and even if you flood the seams, it's gonna look great. Just let it dry. Let the dyes do the work. Just get them onto the surface, try to put them on evenly, try not to streak them, ease up on your hand. I mean, you know, there's a lot to say, but I mean, once you start doing this, it's pretty darn easy. Once you just get the kit, and once you clean it up, and once you do everything that you see in this video, I mean, it's no big deal. You just clean it, let it dry. Make sure it's free and clear of any sort of oils or anything like that. You know, you can just gently wipe it like this, just with the weight of the sponge. Okay. Just like that. And you can go back and just sort of even it out like this. It's pretty good. Very easy to work with. Ease up on your hand. Get all the areas, make sure you got them all. Okay, we're gonna let this dry and we'll be back. Okay, so we're back again. You can see that it's starting to get shinier just on its own, because what you're doing is when you build up the dye, you're sort of, every coat that you put on it, it starts to correct the finish or correct the surface. And if the surface is worn, it's of course not going to be as shiny. And when you apply the dyes, it corrects the worn surface to a certain degree. And then each coat you build up corrects the damage until it's not a worn surface anymore. It's actually a brand new leather finish like this. I mean, this already looks really, really good. And again, depending on the lighting that's in your house, if you have low lighting, this is going to look fantastic. If you have high lighting, you might be like, I can kind of see a little bit of white here, or light, or something like that. But generally, what you want to do is you want to feel the finish now, okay? And if you just happen to feel any sort of inconsistencies, you would just gently, of course, take your sandpaper and just really, really gently go like this. Okay, and then just go over it, just very, very gently. You can even wipe it like this, just like, you know, not applying a lot of force or anything like that. And when you feel it, it's just that much more softer. Okay, now if you're happy with this, you want to apply the sealer for full and complete protection. Again, that's this right here. This is your sealer. Okay, I don't know. I mean, it looks pretty good to me. If you want, you could put on one more coat, or, you know, you would get the sponge and you would just, again, wipe on one more coat. But I think what we're going to do now, since it does look pretty good, is we're just going to apply the sealer. So the way you would do that is you would get it out of your kit. You would get another sponge that's in your kit. Put a glove on. Just like this. Make sure, of course, that it's good and clean. There's no dust onto the surface. Shake the bottle, take the cap off, and then just spray it on evenly, like that, right? And then just wipe it onto the surface. Just like that. And then just spray on a little bit more. And wipe that on like that. Whoops, what am I doing? And spray a little bit more. And just wipe it on like that. And I'm not applying a lot of pressure. Just with the weight of my hand. And also see how you can see that there's a little bit of dye coming off. This wasn't totally dry and cured overnight. We dried it with the gun, so there's still a little bit of residual moisture in the finish. So when you're applying the sealer on here and you're wiping it on, depending on how heavy your hand is, you're gonna re-wet the finish and a little bit of the dye is gonna come off, but that's really nothing. That's no big deal at all because you have a nice coat of sealer on this area. So what we're gonna do, it dries fairly quick, you know, but again, we always recommend letting it sit overnight. Okay. We're just gonna dry that up, and we're gonna take our gloves off. And you have a beautiful cushion that is not going to peel again. It's not gonna peel. The dyes are right down into the finish. They've dried, they've cured, they've strengthened. Again, this area right here, so you can kind of see it a little bit. Those were areas that we fixed on this cushion that are embedded into the material. That's what you want. So this cushion will never peel again. It may wear down, it may rip, it may do all kinds of things over the years, but it is certainly not going to peel or do anything like that. It's going to be a very durable finish. Of course, the way that you would take care of this is you would gently clean it with our cleaner. I'll get the cleaning kit and I'll just explain it to you just quickly. Okay, so we're back, of course. The way you would take care of this finish is by basically, this is our large cleaning and protection kit for future care and maintenance of your brand new finish. It's a 27-ounce cleaner. You want to spray the cleaner onto the leather cleaning and dusting cloth, and then you just want to gently wipe it down and wet dust it every 3 to 4 weeks, once a month or something like that. That's how you would take care of it. And then every season or every 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 months, you would clean it up, let it dry, spray the protector onto a sponge. It's very similar to the sealer, but of course it's made to apply once a year. It's a little bit thinner, easier to apply. And then you would just gently apply a brand new protective top coat once a year. So this way you're gently cleaning the surface of the leather once a month, gently, and then you're applying the sealer or the protector, of course, that's been compromised or worn off of the course of a year. Because when you're sitting on this for a year, you're going to start to wear off what? The first coating would be the sealer, which is the protective top coat. What you want to do is you want to replenish that every season with our protector. Okay, so you'd wipe it on just like you saw the sealer. So this is the large leather cleaning and protection kit. Great value. You can use this on boots, shoes, purses, car interiors, anything leather, even jackets, anything. Clean it, protect it, done. Okay, we never recommend any conditioners or anything like that. All they end up doing is gumming up the finish when you apply too much of them, over-oiling the hides, leaving the surface sticky, and actually making more trouble and attracting dirt, and you get peeling and cracking from that. With this particular finish, actually, the original finish, see underneath here, it's like a bonnet or a Bycast. You never want to apply an oil product because this polyurethane is an oil-based product, a petroleum product. So if you apply an oil-based product to a petroleum product, it'll start to gum up and it'll start to fail and it'll start to peel. Okay? So just like, when you get your hands covered in grease, if you get fresh oil, any kind of oil, even olive oil or motor oil, and you put it on your hands, you go like this, it's going to clean your hands up. Okay? So What we used in the video, of course, was the small, leather dye repair kit in the color dark brown C right there. The dyes go a long way because we don't water our dyes down. They're fully and completely concentrated. And then in the areas we applied, of course, our small 1 ounce filler. That's our small 1 ounce filler kit. So if you want to correct the finish, you get a leather dye repair kit, small, medium, or large. This happens to be a small. If you have any deep rips, cracks, or peeling that needs to be filled in, you get the filler. And of course, to take care of it is the large cleaning and protection kit. Hope this video helped. This is how you fix a cushion that's, of course, had issues or will continue to have issues for more of a permanent fix solution. Hope you liked the video. And again, you can find all of our products at fixyourleather.com. If you have enjoyed our video, please like, subscribe, or even share with your friends.